So the DC people are mad at Keith Lee because Keith Lee didn't just love and adore all their food. Here's the thing. He only goes to restaurants that y'all recommend. Y'all. Two, how you gonna get mad at somebody else's taste buds? If they don't like it, they simply just don't like it. That's it. That's all. That's not a bad thing. He doesn't hate DC. He doesn't hate DC people. He just don't like the food, and that's simply okay. But all the DC people coming on TikTok, some people threatening his life. Some people said, make sure he drop his location. People making videos, oh, he's cap, oh, he has the taste buds of a child, oh, he's this and he's that. Grow up. Find something else to be upset about. There's plenty of things in this world to be upset about. Plenty. But you're mad at Keith Lee because he didn't love all of DC's food. So you just want him to start lying now. Y'all want him to just start lying? Just for what? Like, what would be the benefit? Will y'all pay him extra? Will y'all pay him anything to lie? No.
Like, y'all talking about, oh, he went to the wrong spots. No, he went to the right spots. DC food is curry out, oohs and ahs, Hong Kong. That's what y'all eat. It's the same shit like when he was in New York and he got that fucking salmon chopped cheese. The best food in the DMV is usually going to be from somebody else's culture. I ain't going to lie to you. Indian food, Ethiopian food, Middle Eastern food, some of that stuff. Some of the best ethnic foods you gonna find is in DC. But when it come to good black soul food, no, you're not gonna find it in DC. Go to Baltimore.
Keith Lee is right. Y'all don't do anything in DC but go out, smoke hookah, and take shots. Brunch is literally our #1 outing recommendation. And that's okay. We're a stressed people. We have to relieve it somehow. But everything in this city is alcohol related. You're gonna get some good food, but if he doesn't want a bar to be there, I have not been in one restaurant that doesn't also have a bar. That's why half of the food videos are things you can do in DC that aren't brunch or go to a club. U Street is y'all's favorite recommendation.
Join me on the way to Chipotle and let's discuss this recent phenomenon of people essentially socially gatekeeping Keith Lee. That's where a lot of this hate is. A lot of it is people believing that he's gotten too big for his britches. They know where he started out from. So who is he to think that his word carries any type of bond? Now, mind you, y'all decided that his word carried bond. The moment y'all gave him that following, all that, and this isn't nothing on Keith Lee, he's just capitalizing off of what y'all told him. If niggas tell me I can rap, I'm going to keep making music. It makes sense to me. So everybody remembers his upbringing. Struggling MMA fighter, baby on the way, social anxiety, doing DoorDash, Uber, whatever, to make ends meet. He blows up, and obviously the first year, it's always going to be love the first year. It is always going to be, we are so happy for you. We made the right person famous, all of that. The moment his word starts carrying weight, and it goes against something that maybe you were a fan of, maybe he comes to your little raggedy city and don't like your food, now all of a sudden is, who made him king?
Guys, I think I finally figured out the problem with Keith Lee. The issue is that we've been so used to seeing people go from being viral to being famous, which rarely even ever happens nowadays, but he made it through that pipeline. People get famous, we see them lose all manner of sense, all manner of morals, all manner of values immediately. But then Keith came along and he has maintained integrity, and his integrity is holding other institutions accountable, because the thought is, if I can just get Keith Lee in my restaurant, we'll blow up. But then the problem with Keith is, in order for Keith's magic to work for you, you actually have to be an upstanding restaurant. You actually have to be a restaurant that treats all your customers the same, because he's never going to come in and be like, I'm Keith Lee. He has integrity, and we as a society are not used to seeing that. Let Keith Lee be proof that if you just keep doing what you're doing and you learn how to cater to the people, cater to your audience, baby, it's only a matter of time. You're going to pop off, and pop off well and respectably and with godliness. Shout out to Keith. He is my GOAT.
Hey everyone, it's Brie. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back in another video, and I'm here to talk about Keith Lee. So Keith Lee has been a hot topic as of recently, and honestly this entire year he's been a hot topic, but unfortunately it hasn't been for positive reasons. So I'm assuming you guys know who Keith Lee is if you clicked on this video, but in case you do not, Keith Lee is a really popular TikTok food critic. He's been making food reviews for a while now, and honestly, his videos have really just taken off. His page gained a lot of popularity and success in what most people would say is a short amount of time. And, you know, for the most part, people had very positive things to say about Keith Lee. Like, Keith Lee was one of those people where, you know, when you think about people who are unproblematic and that the internet, for the most part, you know, really likes and they don't have anything negative to say, Keith Lee was one of those people. Like, people felt very protective over Keith Lee. You know, they supported everything that he did. And what really made him so likable by people is not just the fact that his food reviews were very authentic and catered to, you know, the everyday person, but his videos would literally change the lives of small restaurants. Because a lot of the reviews that, you know, he does now are him visiting, you know, these small local mom and pop, you know, restaurants that may be struggling with getting customers. But then once Keith Lee goes to your restaurant and he makes a video, that restaurant gets the Keith Lee effect, where now, because of his positive review, now business is booming. You know, people have said that he has literally saved restaurants from going out of business because of, you know, his videos. So people really loved what he was doing and how he was changing people's lives.
So I know there's been a lot of talk about Keith Lee's visit to the DMV, and while people have their own thoughts and opinions of the restaurants and places that he's been to, he's really sewn into. When he visited Ducom, he literally donated money to go to all of our staff.
$1 for all employees here.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you here. See you again.
And pay for people's meals essentially for the rest of the night he visited. So I just want people to remember and focus, like, it's more than just Keith Lee's opinion on DC. Really it's what he's doing to these smaller businesses and businesses in the area and really giving back to them. So I just really want to use this moment to really say thank you to Keith and his whole family for really sewing into not only here but everywhere else they've been to.
People recently have turned on Keith Lee, and I really wanted to talk about that because I think it's just really weird. So I feel like all of this started when he, you know, did his food tour, right? So he was doing a food tour, he was going across America and, you know, finding local spots, and, you know, he would ask his community. Sometimes restaurants would reach out to him directly for, you know, him to review. And, you know, he was going to different cities throughout the country and doing this big food tour. And everything was going pretty well until he got to Atlanta. When he got to Atlanta, that's when things kind of shifted. And I think, actually, now I remember, I did make a video about this, like about Keith Lee in Atlanta specifically. So if you guys want to check out that video, it is on my channel. I'll try to remember to link it in my description, or I'll link it on the end card, one of those two. But basically, he went to Atlanta. He did not have a good experience. The customer service was just not it. They had that man and his family waiting for a very long time. It just was not a good experience. And, you know, up until this point, right, most of Keith Lee's reviews have been positive, right? Or they've been kind of in the middle. You didn't really see a whole lot of negative reviews from him, but that's not to say that he had never had a negative review before. But it was something about, I guess, him being in Atlanta and the people of Atlanta being very protective over, you know, the food scene and just their city in general. They did not like the fact that Keith Lee posted a negative review, because the same way that a positive review can help a business, you know, bloom and blossom, a negative review could do a lot of damage. And so people felt like Keith Lee's negative reviews did more harm than good, and they accused this man of, you know, not supporting the Black community and just all this kind of stuff. And so it got really bad, and it got so bad that people threatened him and his family. And so now Keith Lee is literally never coming back to Atlanta, or maybe he will, but he's never doing a review in Atlanta ever again because of how he was treated. And honestly, I don't blame him, because it honestly was not that deep. And so I feel like that's kind of where it started, where you had some people saying, like, you know, well, this is his opinion. If he got bad service, he got bad service. You know, why should he have to suppress that? You know, I do want to get into that later on, because you do have a lot of people that feel like if he has a negative experience, he shouldn't share it. And it's funny because he actually ended up doing that with the recent food tour that he did in DC, which I will get to that in just a second. But, you know, I think it's just very odd how people have quickly turned on him, right? And so you had the whole Atlanta situation, then you had the whole Taraji P. Henson situation. And just to quickly go over that, Keith Lee and his wife were invited to the BET Awards, and, you something had happened with the seating arrangements, and basically Taraji P. Henson did not identify the correct person, because basically it was Keith Lee, his wife, and then it was Jordan the Stallion. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's another content creator. So basically, I think there was like, a section for the content creators at the BET Awards, but there were some seats that were switched, and basically Taraji P. Henson, had basically flirted with Keith Lee in front of his wife, and she also gave him like a rose, and there was like a whole thing with that because like he dropped the rose on the ground, and it became like a big deal. Then Taraji had said something in response to that, and she's like, oh, like it wasn't my fault, and I don't believe it was her fault. I think it was just like a miscommunication and just things with production and all of that. And so people didn't like that because people were like, oh, Keith Lee is acting like everybody should know who he is, and it was a lot. So you just started to see more and more people started to turn on Keith Lee, and now we have this whole DC situation. So Keith Lee recently did a food tour in the DMV area. He covered Virginia. He went to DC. I'm not sure if he's already done Maryland or if he's going to do Maryland, but he has done a restaurant in Virginia as well as DC. He has said that his experience in DC has not gone well for the most part. Basically he said that he went to I think about 12 restaurants and only about 3 of them were good enough to post. And it's interesting because I think because of the situation that happened in Atlanta, he did not feel comfortable speaking negatively about restaurants anymore. So he literally said that the 3 that were okay, he's gonna go ahead and post those if not already, but the other restaurants that were not good, he's just not even going to post about them. He's not gonna say which restaurants they were, and I think it is because of what he went through in Atlanta. And he's like, look, like I understand my reviews hold a lot of weight, and so just out of respect for those restaurants, I did not have a good experience. I don't feel comfortable lying or even putting out there what my actual opinion is on these restaurants, so I'm just going to not.
Me and my family are still in the DMV, and there's a few things I want to talk about, so let's talk about it. I know we only posted about 3 spots from Washington, but we went to about 12, and we made a decision as a family and as a team, and also a personal decision to not post most of them. So out of those 12, I probably only got like 1 or 2 more that I'm gonna post. And the reason for that, a lot of those videos, in my opinion, aren't constructive at all. And before the narrative starts, I'm gonna show a few clips of the places that we did go to. And again, I don't think they're constructive. So for privacy of the restaurants that we went to, I'm not gonna say what restaurant it is. I'm gonna just show you a little bit of our personal experience. It's the whiting with the sweet potatoes and mac and cheese. Unfortunately, I won't be trying any of it. As always, I ain't trying to be rude, I'm just be honest. The smell of this, insane. This perforated the whole car immediately. So much so that my family went back in and asked if they fried it in the same grease that they did the shellfish. And come to find out they do. And it smelled like it. It smells like shellfish. It smells like frozen fish. It smells like fish. It smells almost unedible in my opinion. I don't want to smoke. The entire customer service experience, in my opinion and in my family's opinion, was completely unprofessional. It said on the IG that they opened at 1 o'clock. The truck didn't open up until 2:15. It took about 45 minutes. When they went back to go get the food, they saw her preparing it. No gloves, no washing hands, grabbing money, grabbing strawberries, grabbing Fruity Pebbles, and putting it on top of our food.
Chicken tastes weird.
The reason there's no food in my hand is because a lot of the restaurants we've been recommended since we've been here look like this. And I'm not the target audience just based on the pictures.
Put her hand! Put her hand!
And I did have a question. Do you guys have running water? I ain't got no point to lie. We just out here eating food, praying, staying with our families, minding our business. We also went to a lot of places that were recommended. That's one thing that I really want to make clear in this video, is that we went to places that were recommended, and we did a lot of research. We've been here for a week, and every day since we've been here, we've been in a Sprinter for at least 10 hours a day, just going around trying food, driving an hour to each spot. And since we've been here, we've been blessed enough to sow $30,000 to various restaurants around the DMV. So I don't appreciate it, and I don't think it's fair that we get criticized for not doing research or not going to a lot of restaurants in DC or the DMV area. I've noticed how the media has been pushing since we've been here. A lot of media outlets picked up on the fact that I said restaurants out here, in my opinion, tend to lean towards promoting alcohol more than they promote food. That's the headlines more than us being in an actual city and being blessed enough to touch the people that we touch. Granted, a lot of people that was extremely nice. We even went to a comedy show randomly, but that's another reason why I'm keeping most of those videos, to protect the restaurant owners, because it's not going to be constructive and it's just going to be them getting tore down, and I don't want that. Past those 12 videos, I still got about 6 or 7, and I'm going to be releasing those throughout the next couple of days. I appreciate y'all. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Y'all be safe.
And even though he went out of his way to not publicly expose these restaurants and, you know, name the restaurants that he did not enjoy, people still got very angry with him. So you now have the people who live in DC getting extremely upset with him, getting upset at the food places that he chose, getting upset with him for not liking the food, getting upset with him for the type of food that he likes to eat. And so I want to really like break all this down, because I have a lot of thoughts about the way that the public, and let's be real, more specifically how the Black community is treating Keith Lee in comparison to how they were before. So people getting mad at him for giving negative reviews does not make any sense to me. I've seen so many people say that, you know, I guess because Keith Lee's platform now is so impactful, that he should only post positive stuff because he knows that the negative reviews are going to negatively impact that business and potentially lead them to, you know, losing business, losing customers, and maybe even having to shut down. But here's my thing, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion. This entire video might be an unpopular opinion at this point, and listen, if you want to go back and forth in the comments, feel free. But my opinion is my opinion, okay? I feel like just because a restaurant is small and minority owned does not mean that they are exempt from critique. Now, yes, obviously you shouldn't be nasty about it, and you know, there's a way to go about it, but at the end of the day, when you are running a business that is meant to serve other people, again, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a hotel, any type of business where you are serving people, I mean, even stores and things like that, like, you have to always make sure that your business and your establishment is up to par. You have to make sure that your customer service is on point. You have to make sure that, again, if it's a restaurant, that your food is of high quality, that the food tastes good. These are bare minimum things. And here's the thing, I understand that everyone has a bad day, right? Everyone has a bad day, and especially, again, if you're a small restaurant, you don't have the super huge staff, and you know, maybe it's just you and your family that's working the place. Yes, there are going to be times where you fall short just due to maybe not having the manpower, or you know, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, whether it's Keith Lee or a random customer, you have to always make it a goal every single day to offer the best customer service and the best quality of food possible. And if you have somebody that comes in that tries your food and is not good, that's on you as the restaurant. That's not on the person. And what I don't understand is, again, take Keith Lee out of it. You have Google reviews, you have Yelp reviews, and you also have other people on TikTok that don't have as big of a following as Keith Lee. But, you know, if I want to go to, I don't know, this brunch place in Houston, Texas, and I'm looking up, you know, what people are saying about it, if there's someone that I come across on there that had a bad review and they decided to post a TikTok about it, that's their right. Like, that's the risk that you take when, you know, again, you have a bad day, and maybe the, you know, that customer that came in that one day, they just did not get the best quality of what you had to offer. That's called running a business. And yes, for any business owner, a negative review can have an impact. It's very scary to get negative reviews. Again, whether you're running a business, whether you're running an Etsy shop, any type of negative review is always going to hold a lot of weight, especially as a small business owner, especially if you're, you know, you're just getting by and you don't have that much clientele. That one review can hinder, you know, potential people from even giving you a chance. And so I understand why people wouldn't want somebody with a big platform to say something negative, but at the end of the day, if that's his experience, then that's his experience. And the appeal with Keith Lee has always been that he's the everyday type of customer. He's not this professional critic. He's not, you know, and I want to get into that as well, because you have a lot of people saying too that, oh, well, he's not a professional. Why are we taking opinions from somebody that's not a professional critic? Who is looking for the opinions of professional critics? Again, especially when it comes to small local restaurants that are minority owned. You're gonna go on TikTok, you're gonna go on Google, you're gonna go on Yelp, you're going to look for the experiences of the everyday customer. You're looking for people that, you know, are unbiased. And if you're truly looking for unbiased reviews, you're gonna want the positive and the negative. I would never want to look up, you know, a restaurant and all of the negative reviews are being hidden, because you have a lot of people that do that too. You literally have people that will literally flood their Google reviews with positive reviews that aren't even real to suppress the negative ones. Even apartment complexes do that. They'll sit there and be like, oh, this apartment complex is so great and it's so clean, it has all these amenities. But then when you keep scrolling when you keep scrolling, you literally will find people who are giving like their real authentic experiences. And yes, you know, you can make the argument too that people will run to leave a negative review more than they'll leave a positive review. And that is true, but that's not always the case. I can remember there's been plenty of times where I was looking for food spots, and shoot, even if it's a chain restaurant, sometimes chain restaurants can vary depending on what location you're in. There could be one, you know, downtown that has good customer service, and then there could be another one in another part of the state that's trash, you know? And that's why having authentic, unbiased reviews are important. You don't always want, you know, a professional critic, because also a lot of people don't know, if you're just becoming familiar with Keith Lee, a lot of times Keith Lee will literally go in anonymously. Like, he'll send somebody from his family that no one knows, or, you know, he'll order it on Uber Eats anonymously, just so people don't know that it's Keith Lee. Because a lot of times if you make it known, like, hey, I review food and I have a platform, the restaurant will give special treatment to you, so that way they'll make sure that you have a positive experience so they can get that positive review, but then everyone else gets the crappy customer service. Because Keith Lee has also talked about how he would show up to a restaurant, they would recognize him, and you had people that were waiting for their food or waiting in line to be seated for 45 minutes to an hour, and they'll try to put Keith Lee up, you know, above them because he's Keith Lee. And yes, although that's like a given, like obviously if a celebrity or someone, you know, of high importance shows up, or let me not say high importance, people gonna think I'm saying that celebrities are more important than other people, and that's not what I'm saying. But, you know, celebrities, public figures, you know, people that society deems as, you know, high up, yes, they're going to get pushed to the front of the line, they're going to get the better service. That is like what happens when you have a platform. But again, because Keith Lee is committed to giving authentic reviews, he will literally try to get the food anonymously and get it in his car so he can get the same experience that, you know, me or anyone that's out there watching would get. And so again, I don't understand this whole concept of, well, he's not a professional, because again, if you're looking for authentic reviews, you're not looking for professionals, you're looking for people like, again, me or you or whoever is eating at that restaurant, and you're just gonna get their authentic responses. No one is doing a deep dive to see if they have their credentials or a degree or they went to culinary school. Like, and also the idea too that you have to have a professional palate to give an authentic opinion on food, because last I checked, good food is good food. Food that tastes good. I don't think it matters if you went to culinary school or if you have an expanded palate. I don't think that matters. Either the food is good or it's not. Either the customer service is bad or it's not. To have all these critiques is just crazy to me, because again, y'all are putting so much expectations on Keith Lee, but most of these people that get online and give their honest reviews, they don't have the most expansive palate, and again, they don't have a background in the culinary arts. There's just regular people, and those are the people that I want to hear from. I also want to quickly address people saying that because Keith Lee is a picky eater, that had something to do with him not liking the food in DC, Atlanta, or whatever. I've seen a lot of people saying that his palate is basic, he doesn't eat that much food. And I just want to quickly speak on that as a fellow picky eater. Because I got triggered, okay? I got triggered from people saying that, you know, his food opinion doesn't matter because, you know, he's picky, he doesn't eat a whole lot of food. Again, this idea that you need to be this culinary expert and that you have to have all the food in the world to have a valid opinion on food is crazy to me. Even if that man's palate is basic in terms of, okay, he likes chicken, he likes burgers, he likes, you know, whatever. If he only likes a certain type of food and he only gets that certain type of food, I would argue that he would know best about that, right? Like, if he's someone that only eats chicken, right, I would say someone like that knows their chicken, okay? Someone that only eats burgers, right? I would trust their opinion on burgers because they've had enough from different locations and different ingredients and different whatever to have a well-rounded view on what a good tasting burger is like. And so to say that because he doesn't eat certain foods, like for instance, he's allergic to shellfish, people have the nerve to say that, oh well, because he's allergic to shellfish, he can't try out all of these restaurants that have shellfish, so therefore his opinion is invalid. And I'm just like, what? That literally does not make any sense. And again, I've also gone through this as well, that because people will often tell me that I don't know what I like, or I don't know what good tasting food tastes like because my palate is limited. And it's like, at the end of the day, even if I am somebody that will go towards, you know, eating chicken tenders at a restaurant, which actually, as much as people assume that that's all I eat is chicken tenders, there's actually, I can't remember the last time I had chicken tenders at a restaurant. Normally when I go out, you know, I'll get chicken, right? But it'll be like baked chicken, fried chicken, rotisserie chicken. You know, I vary up my chickens, you know, but even to that extent, right, like I'll often will tell people, I'm like, hey, this restaurant, like, yeah, they have chicken tenders, but the chicken tenders are trash, they're not well seasoned, they're not good at all. But people are like, I mean, well, it's chicken tenders, like there's not much to chicken tenders. I'm like, no, chicken tenders can still taste bad. You know, and so it's just that annoyed me. Now I do want to hop into Twitter a little bit and see what people were saying on this topic, because it was very interesting to see just the different perspectives that people had on this particular topic. But before I get into that, I also wanted to address something that I personally have noticed over the years, and I've seen other people mention it too in regards to this whole Keith Lee situation, is the idea that within the Black community specifically, it really does feel like as soon as someone comes into a great amount of success in their career, people go from supporting them heavily to tearing them down, finding any reason to hate on them and to dislike them and to even try to cancel them or to try and prevent them from reaching any more success. I've seen this happen time and time again with various people in various industries. Keith Lee is just one example. Like, again, I feel like when he was slowly like getting big on TikTok, people were really loving Keith Lee. Like, you literally couldn't say a bad thing about Keith Lee, you know, like 2 years ago, even a year ago. You couldn't really say many bad things about Keith Lee because people would look at you crazy. But now you see Keith Lee being posted, and not only are you seeing him being posted in a negative light, but you see people in the comments saying negative things about him, like, oh yeah, I never liked Keith Lee, and I just feel like he's doing so much harm to the Black community, and you know, who cares about his opinion? Like, why are we taking advice from him? He's not a professional. Like, you just see so many harsh things being said about him now, and I'm just like, again, his opinion is his opinion. And I hate this era that we live in where people are not allowed to have different opinions and different perspectives on things. If he don't like the food, or if he doesn't like the places that he went to specifically, that's his experience. Why are you getting mad at him? Especially because it's not like he's just eeny, meeny, miny, mowing these restaurants. He's literally getting the recommendations from y'all, from the people that live in these cities. So if it just so happens that the people that he listened to, you know, pointed him in the wrong direction, then hey, it is what it is. And if anything, just, you know, because I think what's happening too is people keep attacking him, and it's making him not want to give these cities a second chance. Just let him know, look, I know you went to these particular places. These are not the correct places. If you're willing to give this city another chance, maybe let's try these instead. But y'all keep attacking this man, and so he's not going to be open to giving cities like DC and Atlanta another chance because y'all are running him away from doing so. But back to the topic at hand, I honestly feel like people are very quick to tear people down if they get too successful. It's like they want to be cool with you when you're on the come up, but then when you get to a place where you are, you know, getting invited to the BET Awards, and now you're going on tours and you're getting others notoriety, you now have people who turn and go, oh wait, actually I don't like you anymore. And I think it's very weird. I also saw the same thing with Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat, you know, is a popular Twitch streamer and content creator, and he's literally one of the top streamers and content creators, and he's Black. And you found that as soon as he started getting a little bit of mainstream success, now all of a sudden people don't like him, people feel like he's a bad influence, and they're finding any reason to crap on him. And I think that's really unfortunate because, again, I see somebody that, you know, started from humble beginnings, built his way up from just being authentically himself. And although, sure, you may not like the content, you may not watch him, but at the end of the day, you can't knock his hustle and you can't knock the fact that he has made a name for himself. Same thing with Keith Lee. Same thing with a lot of these people. And it's like, why is it that when they get on top, you want to try to humble them and you want to try to turn on them and try to get other people to turn on them? And it's like, if they're just not your cup of tea, if you just don't like their content, that's fine. But why is it that every single time one of us gets to a place of success, you want to tear them down? I also said the same thing about Chloe and Halle. I never thought in a million years that the internet would turn on Chloe and Halle, because there were also two people that you couldn't really say anything negative about them. Like, people loved Chloe and Halle, but as soon as they started getting mainstream success, what happened? People started getting on Chloe, saying that she's cringy, her music is terrible. Every single time she releases something, people have negative stuff to say. Her comments are always filled with just negativity. Same thing with Halle. Halle, you know, so much so that people were comparing Chloe and Halle, and people were saying like, oh, actually we prefer Halle. We think Halle is more talented than Chloe is. And then what happened? Halle got pregnant. She hid the pregnancy. One could argue that she, you know, was being misleading in the fact that she was pregnant. And now people have turned on her. People don't like her anymore. People get on her about being with DDG. People call her corny now. Like, it's just so crazy to me. And again, you can obviously have your opinions on people. And yes, these people are not perfect. And you are allowed to, you know, critique them when they do something that you don't like, right? Like, obviously, none of these people are saints either. I want to be clear. Again, I don't agree with how Keith Lee handled that Taraji P. Henson situation, and he filmed the video of him throwing the flower on the ground. I thought that was very immature of him. Kai Cenat, I didn't like how he handled that whole giveaway situation in New York where people were getting hurt and traffic was being backed up. I did not agree with how he handled that. You know, Halle, I'm back and forth on. I personally don't care that much that she lied or that she was not truthful about the fact that she was pregnant. I honestly could care less about that, but sure, people are allowed to feel some type of way about that, but let the critique start there and stop there. You then continuing to go in these people's comment section, harassing them, tearing them down on a consistent basis is so crazy and weird to me. Like, again, you can dislike and disagree with certain things that people say and they do. Again, these people are not above critique at all. I'm not saying they are above critique, but what I am saying is to consistently try to tear somebody down, especially after you once supported them at a certain point, just because they made a mistake or they did something that you did not like, that to me is a little alarming. The fact that all it takes is for one mistake or you do one thing wrong and people just immediately are like, oh, no, cancel, you're done, you don't deserve success, you don't deserve anything. I just think it's really, really weird. And I think it's sad that we tend to do that a lot, where we don't give each other grace. And it almost feels like we don't want to see people truly succeed and learn and move forward from those mistakes. So I came across this tweet, which was very similar to what I said earlier about how, listen, if he's a picky eater, that, you know, shouldn't matter. So the original tweet said, Keith Lee has an incredibly basic palate, incredibly basic. And then this person said, if all he eats is wings and the wings ain't good, the wings just ain't good. You do not have to eat caviar, I don't know what this is, and black truffles to know a nasty piece of chicken. And I agree. If all he ate was tacos, right, and all he went to was taco spots, again, I'm trusting his opinions on tacos. Like, I don't see why he needs to have this expansive palate to give a valid opinion on something. Because again, people are not looking to see if some of these other food influencers have expansive palates. They just watch that one review and, you know, decide from there. So this person said, Keith Lee's format doesn't work well here. You mean the kind of format where an average everyday person gets takeout from a restaurant that serves soul/American food and eats it in their car? Okay. Yes. Like, literally, this is how most people do food reviews. They go in, they get their food, and then that's it. And again, I feel like people feel like if you only eat certain foods that it invalidates your opinion. But it's like, so what if he's not eating fancy food? Because again, I deal with this as well, where it's like, oh, well, you don't eat this and you don't eat that. So like, I don't understand what that bothers people so bad. Like, I honestly don't. I don't get it. So this person said Keith Lee's first mistake was going to Atlanta and DC expecting good food, not knowing the chef's special is hookah. Which, Oh, he did mention that as well. I believe how DC is heavily focused on alcohol versus serving good food. And you know what? I'm gonna go full screen for this one, because I'm not gonna hold you. I can't say that I disagree with him. Like, because I think for me, right, living in Nova, I always had such a hard time with trying to get people to go places that did not prioritize alcohol. And you had a lot of people saying too, like, oh, well, he doesn't have to order it. That's not the point. The point is that a lot of times with these restaurants or with these, you know, establishments, they're prioritizing, you know, drinking and having a good time. So then that means that their menu is limited. And then even out of those limited options, sometimes the food just isn't good. And you find too that people often go out to drink. They're not even really going out to eat food. And I've just found, like, a lot of people in general, especially like people that are in their 20s and their 30s, people are looking to drink. People are looking for good drinks, and you know, that's their priority. But for me, right, I'm a foodie. I like to eat. I look forward to eating. You know, when I am planning trips with friends, my first go-to is, okay, what food places can I try out? And I often find me having a lot of not conflict per se, well, a little bit, because again, my palate is also very different from a lot of my friends, so that can cause issues in terms of trying to figure out where to eat. But I often find it's a struggle trying to get people to focus on like the food element of, you know, whether again it's a trip or I'm hanging out with people. It's like, okay, where's the food? I don't care about the drinks, I don't care about the alcohol, because I don't drink alcohol. I care about the food. What's the food tasting like? And I often find that people will prioritize going to bars or going to places with, again, very limited menu items, because their priority is, I'm just going to drink. And I can understand having a city that prioritizes that makes it a little bit harder to find great food places. And yes, obviously there are other food places that don't prioritize that, but let's keep it a stack. And I'm so glad I saw people that live in DC who also had this same sentiment, where it's like DC at this point is known for brunch, bottomless mimosas, and again, it's known as the place to be, you know, to drink, to have a good time. It's not really known for food like that. And I also saw a lot of DC natives too saying that, like, he need to go to these places that are kind of like in the cut and aren't well known. But again, if he's not recommended those places, how was he going to know to go there? And also, again, if you're not a DC native and you just live there, or you live near DC, or you're just visiting DC, people don't know where these in the cut places are at. They know like the big spots. And if the big spots are, you know, drinking and hookah and whatever, that's not everybody's vibe. And so I can understand why someone like Keith Lee, who maybe that's not his vibe, why he just did not have a good food experience in DC. Now, I did want to highlight some positives though. So here you have Jerk at Night saying, we jerked Keith Lee. Thanks for coming. We think we represented the DC food scene well. Starting at Howard University from a dorm room 10 years ago, and people thought we failed, to jerking one of the biggest food critics of social media and saving DC. So as you can see, it's not all bad. He did have a good experience. And again, as you can see right here, this is DC's first modern organic Jamaican fusion cuisine service. So again, he's not just eating basic food. Okay, like he does have, you know, a little bit of an expanded palate. And so, you know, he had a great experience. You know, he posted about it, and now business is booming. So, you know, again, it's not all bad. So this person said, Keith Lee has done so much for small and struggling businesses. The hate train is crazy when all you have to do is make better food and actually have good service. If his bar is so low as people claim, that he shouldn't be that hard to impress. I agree. Again, his reviews is literally based on, does the food taste good and or decent? Is the customer service good? And that's about it. Really, that's really his only criteria. So if he gets to a point where he's like, this place was so bad that I don't even want to post it, then it had to have been really bad. And I'm sorry, you have to hold people accountable, even within your own community. I'm sorry. This idea that just because you're going to a business or a restaurant that's owned by someone of the same race or ethnicity as you, to say that they are above critique and you can't hold them accountable to actually providing better customer service and providing good quality food, I don't agree with that. I think everyone should still be held accountable. And if anything, you should want better for your own community to where you are willing to hold those people accountable. And I feel like the same thing happened in Atlanta. People in Atlanta felt like, oh, like you shouldn't say anything bad about these black owned businesses. Why not? If they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're charging all this money for poor service and the poor quality of food, then absolutely you should hold them accountable. You have this person that said, I love when Keith Lee does his food tour reviews in a city not hitting. Then you got everyone who lives there trying to justify it like, oh, he ain't go to the right place. Right, like, come on, he can't go to every single restaurant, bro. And it's like out of 12, like, I'm sorry. I know DC has a lot, right? They have a lot there. They have a lot of places that you can eat at. If this man went to 12 spots or over 10 plus, and he only liked 3 of them, and you still gonna sit there and say, oh, he didn't go to the right spots out of 12? Come on, bro. Come on, y'all. Come on. And I think this is the best tweet to just sum this all up. This person said, I just feel like y'all can keep eating the food in your city, whether Keith Lee likes it or not. Why are y'all so dramatic? Exactly. I'm not understanding the dramatics. I don't understand getting this worked up over someone's one opinion. And again, I get that his opinion at this point does have impact. It does. But at the end of the day, just because you're a minority-owned business and restaurant does not mean that you are above critique. And also, if you're someone that frequents these places and you don't have any issues with it, and or you don't even eat at the restaurants that he's critiquing, then it really shouldn't do you any harm, to be honest. And yeah, I understand that in general people are very protective over their cities for some reason, and they don't want the city to have a bad rep. They don't want people to not, want to go to Atlanta or not want to go to DC and not eat. But I honestly don't think people are going to have that issue. Or I don't think these cities are going to have that issue. And again, his opinion is his opinion. If he did not have a good experience in these cities, he's entitled to that. And getting mad and trying to cancel him and trying to put him down because of his own authentic experience is so crazy to me. Especially when he tried to go out of his way to not even expose the ones that he didn't like. He still got hated on for it. So I don't know. I just think overall we got to do better. Like at the end of the day, like if Keith Lee continues with this food tour and he goes to a city and he doesn't like the food there, he didn't like the food, y'all. He did not like the food, and that's okay. That's okay. Like, and if he picked the wrong spots, there's a way to go about that. There's a way to go about it and say, hey, if you're willing to come here again, I suggest you go to these places instead. Because he can't go everywhere. He can't take everyone's recommendation. And so if it's just the fact that he got a bad batch of restaurants to go to on his first visit, then it is what it is. You just got to take the L on that. I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand the outrage. I don't understand people getting so worked up over one man's opinion. It's like, hey, how about y'all go to these cities and do your own review? Like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's wild. It was one thing with Atlanta where he, exposed the restaurants, which I think he had every right to do. But the fact that he didn't even expose the restaurants that he did not like in DC and people still got offended, it's just so crazy to me. Because at the end of the day, his experience is his experience, and you can't expect everyone to have a positive experience in your city. That's why people live in different cities for different reasons, and so I don't know, where else he plans on going, but to any of the cities out there that he intends on going to in the future, please please, if he goes there and he has a bad experience, don't bash this man on social media. If you don't want to hear his opinion or you don't respect his opinion, that's fine. That's fine. Don't watch his content. Don't take what he says personally. Like at the end of the day, if you like the food there, then that's all that matters. But yeah, those are all of my thoughts on this whole Keith Lee situation. All in all, leave the man alone. Okay, this is one man with his own opinion. If you don't like his opinion, then don't watch his content and don't, but to tear somebody down and to bash this man and to threaten this man and his family and to just say all these nasty, horrible things about somebody because of their own authentic personal opinion about it is crazy to me. That's just like, because for me, right, I love Wendy's, right? That's just like if someone got online and said, man, Wendy's has the most disgusting chicken nuggets ever. Now, I love Wendy's chicken nuggets, the spicy ones in particular. I'm not going to sit there and go in that person's comment section and be like, oh, you're so wrong and you're lying and you didn't go to the right Wendy. No, that's their opinion. That's their opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and everyone has different taste buds, and everyone has different experiences. You can have two people go to the same restaurant in the same week, and the person on Monday can have a completely different experience than the person that went on Tuesday. So that's also why you can't take people's opinions so personal. Eat what you want to eat, do what you want to do, and stop taking this man's opinion so personally and attacking this man online, because at the end of the day, it's not that deep. But those are all of my thoughts on this particular topic. If you guys have any thoughts on this topic, please let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know any other topics that you guys want me to cover on this channel. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead, give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys in the next video.